Hi, friends. Happy Thanksgiving, or end of Thanksgiving, as it's coming to a close here. I want to catch you up on a few things that I am super grateful for. Today is the first day at my new job, and I'm going to tell you about that in just a moment. But yeah, Thanksgiving is one of those days that I think about. Um, I think about it in a sense where I I'm grateful we have specific days in the calendar year where we get to reflect or focus in on some attribute or characteristic that we find really helpful. Like Valentine's Day is all about love, and Christmas is probably about generosity and giving, and Thanksgiving about being thankful and expressing gratitude. But for me, gratitude is one of the things I found in my life that has fueled so much of who I am and how I'm able to keep on having tremendous generosity of giving to others. And it's because whenever I express gratitude, whenever I'm thinking of how I'm grateful for something, it usually comes after I contrast some other experience. So, say for example, my vehicle. I'm super grateful for my vehicle because once upon a time I didn't have a vehicle and I had to walk around and I had to use transit and plan a lot more in advance. So having a vehicle, I'm super grateful for now because now I'm independent. I can do things on my own schedule and it's so convenient. So that's how I use contrasting past experiences with my present experience. Then I get to gratitude, and then gratitude somehow just translates to joy and happiness. And I was with a rider earlier in my Uber, and she was giving me her reflections on our time together, and she was like, your smile, like she said, there's some smiles where you can tell it's canned, like it isn't genuine, but she said your smile is just so exuberant, it's so genuine, and that's why she, an introvert, was able to open up. And so yeah, like gratitude feeds my joy, which enables me to really smile from the heart and be able to share that joy with those I get to share space with in this world. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful that Thanksgiving does exist because some of us just need help and we need a specific day to focus on those kind of things. But I'm just grateful that in my economy, I don't have to struggle to express thanks. It's something that it's like a zone that I live in on a daily basis. There are so many reflections that come up along the way where I'm like, oh man, I remember what once used to be and how things are now. And that for me it just continues to put gas in the tank to give to those around me. And so I'm really grateful for that. But yes, let me share with you some things that I'm super grateful for. Some of the things that are kind of heavy hitters for me. These are like some significant things. One of the things I'm super grateful for is that after all of the mishaps, after all of the awful, devastating mistakes I've made in my life, after all the people I've hurt, after all the losses I've sustained, after all the pains I've gone through, life. After all these things, I'm super grateful that through it all, I've been able to maintain this disposition in my mind and in my heart, whereby it's not game over. There's times that I definitely felt it was like game over, but I'm so grateful that that didn't stay, like that feeling of like just throw in the towel, I'm done, like no use going on. I'm so grateful that through all those challenges that I never would have chosen for myself, that there was still that sustaining element internally that enables me to keep on pursuing and striving and fighting for and embarking. And by nature I'm generally realistic, but I'm also optimistic as well. I have optimism and I have realism in my radar, and so I try to see things as they are, but I also try to think of what could be. How can I give the benefit of the doubt? How can I look at the best circumstances that could be, and then I sort of run with that instead of being on the pessimistic side. So I'm super grateful that I have been able to sustain a really healthy, beautiful space in my mind where I really enjoy what happens in my mind, the things that I think about, the things that I challenge myself with. I am so grateful that is how I guess I operate. I'm really grateful for that. One of the things, well, I guess one of one of the scenarios I find myself in now is like I'm a divorced dad. Many people who just meet me for the first time will look at me and say, "Wow, you look so well put together. Like, who would ever want to divorce you?" And what I have to tell them often is that it was me who had to do the growing up, and my ex is like one of the best people I've ever known in this world, and I really have the highest estimation for her, highest regard, highest respect. Like, she's just one of those individuals that you'll never hear me bad-mouthing, because she's been an amazing person through our time together. And so I just had to grow up, and it took me a lot longer, and there were some lessons that I had to learn, sadly at her expense and our kids as well. But here's what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my ex. I'm grateful that she has grace. I'm grateful that despite the ways I've hurt her and contributed to the demise of our relationship and our connection, that she still does life with me, that she and I are amazing co-parents for our 3 kids together. So I'm so grateful for my ex, and I've communicated to her, like, for life. I want to make sure that she and our family are doing well, and so I'm committed. I'm committed to making sure that I'm always going to make sure that they are doing well economically and that their needs are being met. So I'm very grateful for the collaboration we still have, even though we're not married anymore. I'm super grateful for my 3 kids. My 3 kids who remind me of what's important in life. My 3 kids who I want to model what life could be like. This world, as we, I'm sure all have experienced, has significant challenges. So many challenges for us to navigate, and oftentimes I think we do a lot more face plants, right? A lot more face plants. We're trying to figure out who we are, how to grow in our own valuation of how worthwhile we are as individuals, and how we can overcome our mistakes so that we can see the amazing things that are in us and how amazing we could be. I want to model that for my kids, and so I'm so grateful for their existence and the opportunity I get to be a father in their lives, to earn their love and their trust. And even as they're growing older, like they're getting older now, I'm excited to see them become their own people, their own independent individuals, as they figure out what it means to take up space in this world. So I'm super grateful for my 3 kids. Another thing I'm really grateful for is this sense of purpose that drives me. And let me just spend a few moments on this one here, because this one's kind of a big one. And this gets into the catching up with you all, because I haven't really done a catch-up session with you guys for some time. So I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this video that I started a new job. I started a new job because I brought the one I was at to a close. So the past 3 years, I would say, I was working at a warehouse here in Calgary. I'd taken some time off of driving from Uber because I was trying to figure out how do I want to focus and hone in on this influence that I've been gaining online, this traction. I've been posting videos of my Uber travels with my riders, and it was such a joy. It was such a pleasure to share these moments with you all. The sacred space that I had in my vehicle, where I would just meet strangers who were just going from point A to point B, but in the midst of that, connections were made and conversations happened, and y'all who watch these videos, you really appreciated, I think, something tangible that was happening in the midst of these interactions, and my influence kept on growing online, and I was encouraged to see that. But I was thinking, well, what's the point I want to bring your attention to? If I could bring your attention to something with this influence, what would that be? Some of you might just say, why not just let it be? Just be an Uber driver. I'm more strategic than that. I want to ensure that whatever I'm doing, that there is some amazing follow through of meaningful things that are shared and carried on. And so something was happening as I interacted with these people. Yes, people are like, social skills are one of my superpowers, and you guys were seeing that in the way that I connected with people, and even with y'all who are watching online. But I wanted to be able to say there's more to this, that I'm trying to figure out what that is. And so I wanted to take some time off from driving for Uber, and in the midst of that, I started working at this warehouse. And it was a small little company. We, deliver to restaurants and coffee shops around the city. I started off as a delivery driver, and eventually they asked me to come on as one of the managers, and I started doing that as well. Such a beautiful setting. I felt seen, I felt acknowledged, affirmed. It was challenging work, to be certain, but I just was able to bring value to that job, and the friendships that I made there and the opportunities that came up were really tangible. And I was enjoying myself immensely, but I always knew that it was going to come back to drive with Uber again. I just had to try and figure out what is it that I'm trying to accomplish in life, and what is the message I'm trying to bring forward. And that took some time. It was a challenging thing for me to do some self-reflection and find out what is it that I'm trying to do. But after maybe about 2 years, I was able to synthesize all of my past experiences and all of my skill sets, and because there's so many things I could run with, but eventually I came down to say, if there's one constant I see that was present in this whole course in the last decade of my life that is coming to the forefront, that has really been the scarlet thread that weaves itself through all of those experiences, I would say it's been this theme of integrity that I'd longed for a lifetime to experience. I'd lived for so many years without integrity, as a people pleaser, as a codependent individual who was just trying to chameleon and live and find my validation in others' acceptance of me. And as a result, practicing dishonesty where people thought they were getting the real Biniam, but they were only getting a version of what Biniam thought you wanted to see of me. And then coming to this present moment, after seeing all of those lessons that I had to learn along the way, I'd finally come to understand what this idea of living with integrity looked like, and why it mattered so much to me. Like I said, through my teen years and into my 20s and 30s, I was longing for it. I was longing to experience it. I wanted to live in a way where I was transparent with myself and with the world around me. And I just lacked the courage. I lacked the model of how this could happen. And I had to hit some real significant rock bottoms to get to this space now where I understand it better. And as I was reflecting on this idea of integrity and what it's come to mean to me and how I value it so highly in my life, I started to realize this is what I want to export to the world. This is what I want to hang my hat on, if you will, or place my stake in the ground and say, this is where I want to camp out. I want to dive deep into this idea of what integrity is. I want to talk a lot more about it. I want to create a lot of content in relation to it, because I suspect there are many others who are where I once was at. There are many others who are just trying to figure out, how do I exist in this world in a way that's honest, in a way where I can be me, in a way where I don't have to hide or chameleon the way I once did. And so, yeah, that's what I'm honing in on. So once I realized this, remember, I was still working at this wholesale company that I had been at for the last 3 years. I thought maybe I can do that while I also do this. And like this meaning like honing in on and having a lot more conversations with people about integrity. The idea I had was, why don't I go back and start driving Uber part-time and have those conversations and create videos that I can share with y'all that could hopefully inspire and keep the conversation going. But I started to see that the warehouse job that I was doing, as much as I enjoyed it, was taking up so much time and so much energy and I'm getting old. I was just with one of my Uber riders just before I came to do this video here, and he was asking me genuinely, like, how old are you? Like, and his guess was he was saying I looked like 25, and I've been getting this for the last couple of years now, and it still surprises me to this day that people think I'm as young as I am, because I'm not that young. Like, but they're usually guessing between 25 and maybe 35 years old. So that's intriguing. I'm getting old, and I'm seeing the limitations that my body has, but even so, I'm so grateful. Again, there's that theme of gratitude for my health. Like, I go dancing so often, and I'm able to express myself on the dance floor. It's so good, and I have energy to do it, but I don't have limitless energy like I once used to have when I was young. And I was seeing that a lot of my energy was going to the warehouse job, and I didn't have much to carry on over to driving Uber and facilitating and curating these conversations on integrity. So it was this past summer when I went to a Burning Man festival here in my province, a regional Burning Man festival, and it was fantastic. Like, I went to two of them this summer, and it was the summer festivals for me this year, which is so great. But it was at one of the burns, like they burn a wooden man at some point in the festival, and then they also burn the temple. And the temple is where people go and write down things that don't serve them anymore, that they want to work on in the following year. Well, it's a very intimate experience, really. And these temples are usually ornate and beautiful in their construction out of wood, and people just go in there and reflect and think, and in the midst of doing it, then we all gather, like, towards the end of the event, and we see it burn. And it's usually a very solemn time. Everyone's quiet, and they're reflecting on the upcoming year and what they want to see or work on or develop in their character or their personality or their future. I hadn't really spent any time reflecting, but when I went to see the temple burn, we were all kind of standing a safe distance away from the fire because it was very hot. However, when the fire was sort of contained and dying down, then the fire wardens allowed us to come closer, and something happened for me as I walked towards that burning temple. As I walked closer to it, something shifted. For a few months, I'd been sort of mulling over the idea of focusing on one thing, and that's maybe quitting my job, starting to drive Uber full time, and curating a whole bunch of conversations that I could share with you all through video online here. But I've been sort of like sitting on that for some time, and I wasn't sure, and I was sort of like humming and hawing. But as I was at this event, at this Burning Man event, and walking towards that fire, with each step as I was walking closer to it, there was a growing sense of certainty of what I had to do. And by the time I got close enough to the fire, I was basically in tears because I knew what had to happen. I knew that I was going to quit my job. In fact, the very first day I got back from festival, I was going to put in my notice. And it was such a moment for me because it was one of those active steps that was taken where I was like, all right, we're doing this, and I'm moving forward into the unknown. I'm moving away from this job, this wonderful job where I have a regular paycheck, I have got benefits, stability. Like, there's just so much that's going good over here, but I'm going to give all this up. I was in leadership, I was in management. I was going to give all this up and walk into an uncertain future where I'm starting to drive Uber again and try to provide for my family this way. And in addition to that, create content that I can hopefully eventually monetize online. That was a significant moment. And as I stood by the fire there, I was just in tears, reflecting on this scary change that was afoot for me. And my close friends who had come to this festival, they came over and were encouraging me and supporting me through that. But that was where that shift happened. So after that event, I came back, and first thing, I walked into the owner's office and I sat down in front of her. Now this owner, she and I have become dear friends, but I sat down with her and I said, listen, the time has come and I have to move on. And it was really sad. It was a really sad moment because we were both in tears because we know what this meant, that I'm not going to be here. But she knew what I'd been preparing myself for. She saw amongst all the rest of my coworkers, they saw the excitement that I had to embark in this unknown future. They knew the plans and the goals that I had. They knew how I wanted to change this world by bringing to the forefront this conversation on integrity, making it far more accessible to others. And I mean, they really believed in me. But it was still one of those sad moments where we're like, oh, it's gonna suck not being able to work with each other and hang out like we once used to. Because of my role as a manager, I didn't just want to give 2 weeks of notice, that is typical, but I wanted to give a bit more reasonable time frame. So I suggested we give it like both 3 months. And so over those 3 months, and a little extra actually, we were working on trying to find good replacements for all the roles that I'd taken up in this company. And so this Thanksgiving, I'm so grateful. I'm just gonna wait for this loud siren to pass by me. Just give me a quick sec here. So this Thanksgiving, I am also super grateful, in addition for my ex, my kids, my stellar core of close friends. I'm also really grateful for this sense of purpose that has been brewing inside of me for a lifetime, really. I think all of those experiences in my last 3-4 decades have been preparing me for such a time as this. For such a time as this, where I'm going to embark now into the unknown. But I know why I'm here now. I know what I want to accomplish. What is it that I want to accomplish? I want to make accessible this idea that you and I could experience integrity in our lives. And the presumption here is that many of us are living without integrity at the core. I don't want to speak to your circumstance saying you don't have integrity. It's more like maybe you're where I once was at. Wanting to get some guidance, wanting to get some insights, wanting to get some help on how to think about what integrity is for starters, and how you could intentionally live your life with integrity in such a way that you feel free to be who you are, in a way that you feel confident that you can engage in all your affairs, from professional to personal, from this core that says, I'm in the right place at the right time doing the right thing, you know? And I want to make that far more accessible to many of you who don't feel you're there. I want to specifically hone in and relate to young men. Young men specifically because I once was a young man who was floundering, trying to figure out, how is this going to work? How do I get this in my life? So my goal is multifaceted. My goal is multifaceted. On the one hand, my primary aim, like people have been asking me all along here, if I'm excited for this new transition, and I say, not as excited as you might think, because I'm just trading one job for another one. Both jobs I really enjoy, but there's still work, both sides. I'm going to be driving Uber full-time again, and having lots of conversations and sharing those with y'all. But here's where I get excited. I'm going to get super excited when I start seeing the goals that I'm aiming for starting to happen. And what are these goals? I want to see 100,000, for starters, 100,000 young men who are committing themselves to living with integrity. I want to be the catalyst that inspires what could be for 100,000 young men to say, I want to live with integrity and I want to change my life so that I can live in accordance to what integrity means to me in all of my affairs. That is when I get super excited. That's like my main goal that I'm aiming for. And towards that end, that's why I'm going to be doing all I can through the course of my new job, which I had today, which is driving Uber full-time and doing conversations like I had before. And the simple premise there is, when I get the opportunity in my Uber rides, I'm going to ask my riders if they want to play a game. And that is, I've got a whole bunch of questions that I've come up with on the theme of integrity, thought-provoking questions, interesting questions, and I want to get people's takes on these questions. And so we'll have, however long our riders will sort of dive into these fascinating questions, which I will then ask permission and consent to share those answers with all of you all. And in addition to that, I also want to maintain a podcast on the theme of integrity as well. And so that's sort of my nutshell plan. I want to post these videos online. I want to gain a lot more viewers. I want to gain more influence. I want to influence you guys. Yes, that is one of my goals. Because I think the influence intentions that I have are good. I think they are worthwhile and noble. And I want to enlist you to join that way. So yes, that's something that is getting me super excited. Currently, I don't know if you can, I'm just standing in a parking lot here. I'm just going to move the camera and show you where I'm at, because there's another part of this that is also kind of fun, but it's not as closely tied to what I'm aiming for. But I was just at this beautiful location here with a beautiful backdrop. But I want to show you another ambitious goal that I have that I'm going to be working on. And so I'm going to show you just a sign up here of what one of my future goals is and why. But if you look up here, up top there I am in the frame beside that one. That is the Rolls-Royce dealership here in Calgary. And I show you that there, and I'm over here by their showroom because one of my goals is as my star starts to rise online, and as I continue to create more content in relation to what integrity is and what it could look like, and as my influence grows, at some point I want to see my the channel that I am curating growing and monetizing eventually. And one of my goals is, at some point in the future, I want to get my dream car, which is the Rolls-Royce Phantom, which is like one of the most expensive cars, luxurious cars. That's the Culligan right there behind me. I'm not a fan of the Culligan as much, but definitely the Rolls-Royce Phantom. And the goal with that I want to do is I want to drive Uber with that car. And I remember my one brother said to me, he said something like, I'm just going to post that there. Hello again. He's like, you can't just drive strangers in that kind of a car. I said, why not? I want to be able to take the most inaccessible, luxurious, top of the line vehicle, because I think I'll love it for one. And I love driving and I love people, but I want to be able to make the inaccessible accessible, if that makes sense. I want to have the supreme vehicle like that, and I want to share that with people. One, to make a couple of points. Actually, to make a couple of points. One of those points is that as luxurious and opulent as this experience is to drive in an Uber that is a Rolls-Royce, I want to be able to contrast that experience of the material side with the real connection that I love making with people, so that you, my audience, could help me determine, hey, how successful were we at in overcoming the materialistic side, this nice posh car. Was that more meaningful, or was it more meaningful to say someone saw me for who I truly was? Someone was able to hear me at wherever I was at in life right now. And someone was able to embark on this conversation of what integrity could look like in my life, even in the midst of, I don't know, this inaccessible, unattainable stuff like a Rolls Royce. So I think it'd be fun, but it's also there's a practical side to it too that I wanted to bring out. So yes, I'm super grateful and excited about this new season that I'm walking into. I know there's no guarantees at all. It could flop or it could take off, but I'm committed and I'm striving, and I've been dreaming about it and investing a lot of like intention into it, and I'm so excited as to where all this is gonna go. So Thanksgiving, these are the things I've been thinking about today, but then I also want to encourage you, my fellow viewers, if Thanksgiving is the only time that you think about expressing gratitude, consider my experience. I found, like I was telling you earlier, that gratitude feeds my joy, but gratitude usually comes from me contrasting past experiences with my present experience and what can be, and I found that tremendously transformative, and it sustains me in this beautiful zone. So yeah, how's that for an update? How long was that? That was like, oh goodness, a half hour here. So I'm gonna bring all this to a close. Thank you for watching if you've watched all the way through. I'm excited for the future. I'm so excited. And I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic and I have great expectations. And how can you encourage or support me? For starters, if I could ask you, my previous platform was primarily on TikTok, but I would love to encourage you to come join me on YouTube. YouTube is where I want to grow an even bigger platform, because YouTube is the primary vehicle that I want to grow. Vehicle, pun intended. That's the primary one that I want to grow, because then monetization options come and enable me to do a lot more. And so if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, it's at Biniam Astros, that's my name, on my handle. I would love to have you join me there. If you're so inclined and you have thoughts and ideas you want to share, questions you want to ask, I would love to be able to engage there as well. I'll still be posting to TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn as well. Again, the same handle, at Biniam Astros. My email is at biniamastros1, the number 1, at gmail.com. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me on this new journey. I'm kind of excited. I've been waiting for a long time to share all this with you, but I just wanted to make sure that I'd put some things into order before I came online here to share this with you. Anyway, I hope your upcoming week goes swell. You'll be hearing a lot from me. I can't wait. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.